My name is Amanda Walker. I'm 36 years old, and for most of my life, I believed family was something you endured, not something you questioned. I believed love meant tolerance, silence, adjustment. I believed that if you kept smoothing the edges, kept swallowing discomfort, eventually everything would feel normal. I was wrong. I have organized many birthday parties. Loud ones, quiet ones, rushed ones squeezed between work deadlines. But I had never imagined a birthday ending with me locking my own parents out of my house. This party was meant to be gentle, simple, safe. It was meant to be a memory my son could return to when the world started teaching him that kindness was optional. The backyard was full of effort and hope. Balloons tied to the fence posts, swaying unevenly in the summer breeze. A cardboard pirate ship, crooked and imperfect, built over 3 nights in our garage with glue-stained hands and laughter that echoed off concrete walls. Chocolate cake softening under the sun, the icing just beginning to melt at the edges. 10-year-olds running barefoot across the grass, screaming about treasure, secret maps, sea monsters, as if the world had not yet taught them cruelty. Nathan had been counting down the days for months. He was 10 now, still soft-hearted, still believed adults meant what they said, still thought imagination was something you protected, not something you were supposed to outgrow. The week before the party, we burned the edges of the invitations together so they would look like ancient treasure maps. He handled each one with care, like the magic might disappear if he moved too fast. I watched him and thought, this is what childhood is supposed to feel like. Seen, celebrated, safe. That illusion lasted exactly 4 minutes after my brother arrived. Mark has always known how to bend a room around himself. Conversations slow when he enters. People straighten their posture without realizing it. He stepped into the yard and didn't even glance at the pirate ship. He clapped me on the shoulder the way someone acknowledges staff, not family. Behind him came Melissa, dressed for a rooftop cocktail party instead of a children's birthday. Sunglasses still on, phone already raised, and then Tyler. Tyler was 13, tall for his age, his voice already sharpened by practiced cruelty. He scanned the yard once and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Is this for toddlers or what?" A few kids laughed, nervous laughter, the kind children make when they sense danger and hope it passes them by. Nathan didn't laugh. He stood in the center of the yard holding the treasure map he had drawn himself. He looked at me with confusion, like he had missed a rule everyone else knew. I walked over, smiled too hard, tried to redirect. Melissa brushed past me without acknowledgement. Tyler pointed at the pirate hats and announced he wasn't wearing that crap. Mark shrugged and said, "You know how teenagers are." I should have ended it right there. I didn't. I told myself it would pass. That Nathan was resilient. That I was being dramatic, the word my mother always uses when I stop tolerating disrespect. It didn't pass. Tyler took over the treasure hunt. Shouted answers before anyone else could try. Told Nathan his clues were stupid. Called him a baby in front of everyone. Climbed the fence, grabbed Nathan's pirate hat, and tossed it onto the garage roof. "Real pirates don't cry," he said. Nathan didn't cry then. He waited until no one was watching. I found him behind the shed, wiping his face with his sleeve like he didn't want to bother anyone with it. When he saw me, he asked quietly, "Did I do something wrong?" Something inside me broke open. I walked back into the yard and announced it was time for cake. Melissa took that as her cue to start live streaming. My parents sat at the patio table sipping lemonade like this was normal. Like nothing was happening. I stood in the kitchen doorway as everyone filed inside, and then I said it. "The party is over. Everyone needs to leave." They laughed at first. My mother smiled, that tight, smart, amused smile she uses when she thinks I'm being unreasonable. Mark stared like I had personally insulted him. Melissa looked offended, like I had committed a social crime. I didn't explain. I said, "You are not welcome in my home if humiliating my son is entertainment." Then I looked at my parents. I waited. My dad blinked like he hadn't been paying attention. My mother tilted her head and said, "You always make everything about yourself." So I opened the door. No yelling, no theatrics, just a clear path out. They left muttering. My parents looked back once, like they expected me to stop them. I didn't. At 9:36 that night, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "You're cut off from this family." I stared at it for a full minute. Then I typed back, Good. Then you're cut off from the family business. And now let's talk about the money you still owe me. The silence after that was immediate and perfect. The check stayed on the counter for 2 days before I deposited it. Not because I didn't trust it, but because I needed to see it there. Proof that the chapter was actually closed. Proof that I hadn't imagined the years of being used, dismissed, and quietly exploited. Nathan noticed it first. "Is that pirate money?" he asked, leaning over the counter. I smiled. "Something like that." He nodded seriously, as if that made perfect sense, and went back outside. He had nailed two crooked boards together and was calling it a deck. His hands were dirty. His face was focused. He was whole again. That night, after he fell asleep, I sat alone in the living room. The house felt different, lighter. Not happier in a loud way, but calmer, like a storm had passed and taken debris with it. I realized something unsettling and relieving at the same time. No one was waiting for me to apologize. No one was demanding explanations. No one was rewriting the story before I could finish a sentence. The following weeks were quiet. Too quiet at first. I kept expecting a call, a dramatic message, some final attempt to pull me back into the role I'd played my entire life. It never came. Instead, small things changed. I stopped flinching when my phone buzzed. I slept through the night. I laughed more easily, without checking whether it was appropriate. Nathan changed too. He stopped asking if his ideas were okay. He just did things, built things, imagined things. One afternoon, he came inside and said, "Mom, I think I want to be an inventor, or a shipbuilder, or both." "Why not?" I said. He thought about it, then shrugged. "Yeah, why not?" A month later, I ran into my mother at the grocery store. It wasn't dramatic. No music. No confrontation. She looked older, tired, smaller than I remembered. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something important, something heavy. I waited. She said, "He's growing fast." "Yes," I replied, "because he's safe." She nodded once. That was it. No apology, no accountability, just a quiet acknowledgement that she no longer had access. And strangely, that was enough. People talk about cutting off family like it's an act of anger, like it's revenge, like it's loud. For me, it was none of those things. It was choosing not to pass pain down just because it had been handed to me. It was deciding that my son would never have to earn dignity. It was understanding that love without protection is just permission. On Nathan's next birthday, there were balloons again. A better pirate ship, stronger tape, better glue, fewer people, the right people. As I watched him run across the yard, laughing freely, I realized something I wish I had known years earlier. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for your child is disappoint the people who hurt you. And sometimes, locking the door isn't the end of the family story. It's the beginning of a better one. The door didn't stay closed because I was angry. It stayed closed because peace is fragile when you invite chaos back inside. I learned that slowly, in ordinary moments, the kind that don't announce themselves as lessons. Nathan started bringing friends home after school. Not just one or two, but whole packs of loud, I was angry. It stayed closed because peace is fragile. It didn't stay closed because I was angry. It stayed closed because peace is fragile when you invite chaos back inside. I learned that slowly, in ordinary moments, the kind that don't announce themselves as lessons. Nathan started bringing friends home after school, not just one or two, but whole packs of loud, messy kids who dropped their backpacks by the door and treated the house like it was theirs. At first, I hovered, waiting for something to go wrong. Old habits, old fears. But nothing did. No one mocked, no one dominated, no one needed to win. They argued about games, made up rules, changed them, forgot them. Childhood uninterrupted. One evening, while they were building a fort out of couch cushions, one of the boys asked, "Why don't you have grandparents over?" The room went quiet for half a second. I held my breath. Nathan answered before I could. They weren't very nice, so Mom chose us. Then he went back to stacking pillows like it was the most normal thing in the world. I turned away so they wouldn't see my face. Choosing us became easier with time. Not because it stopped hurting, but because the pain stopped being confusing. I no longer questioned whether I had overreacted. I no longer replayed conversations in my head, rewriting myself into something smaller and quieter. The doubt faded, replaced by something steadier. Trust. I trusted my instincts. I trusted my memories. I trusted that love should never require endurance. Months passed. Seasons changed. The business my parents sold was rebranded, then dissolved. I heard about it secondhand. I didn't feel satisfaction, just distance, like watching a storm on the horizon that no longer threatened your home. Mark visited sometimes, alone. He never brought Tyler, but he talked about him. Therapy, anger management, a long road. I listened without judgment and without responsibility. Those are two very different things. One afternoon, Mark handed me an envelope. Inside was a single photo. Me at 8 years old, standing between him and our parents, smiling too hard. I recognize that smile now, the practiced one, the one that tries to keep the peace. I'm sorry I didn't protect you, he said quietly. I believed him. Life didn't turn into a montage of triumph after that. It became ordinary, better than triumphant. Nathan struggled with math. I forgot to buy milk sometimes. We argued about bedtime, real problems, safe problems. On the anniversary of the party, Nathan asked if we could do something different. No guests, just us. We went to the beach, built a pirate ship in the sand. It collapsed 3 times before it held. When the sun started to set, he looked at me and said, I think the best ships are the ones you rebuild. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I laughed again. That night, as he slept, I stood in the doorway and understood something that took me decades to learn. Family is not who demands access to you. Family is who respects your boundaries when they don't benefit from them. I turned off the light and closed the door softly. And for the first time, I knew without doubt that I had chosen right.